We have to start with the Warriors and the Rockets, which is the hottest conversation in the entire NBA. The Warriors lost to the Wolves on Sunday. Wolves had Nas and Gobert back. That certainly helped. But the Warriors have now lost 2 in a row, 6 of their last 10. They are only 1 game up on the Rockets. Just on Friday, Ashley, Bill and I were talking about this, and Bill goes, hey, maybe, what do you think? The Rockets? And I was like, no, there's not enough time.
You were so
Monday
dismissive.
comes around, and I'm like, there might be enough time. It's actually very crazy. But Curry went for 31 in that game. No one else had more than Clay's 16 off the bench. Curry played 30 minutes in this game. He sat at the back end of the third quarter. He re-entered in the fourth with just about 6 minutes left. Warriors go on to lose this game. Afterwards, people go, hey, Steve Kerr, how come you didn't play Steph Curry in the fourth quarter? And this is what Steve Kerr had to say.
There was kind of that stretch in the fourth where you took time out with like 9 minutes left. I think you were down 4. Looked like you might go back to Steph, didn't, and then it was 8, and you did go back. Do you feel like that was one of the deciding stretches?
No. We got Chris Paul out there. We got Clay. We got Draymond. We got great players out there. So it's we can't expect to just ride Steph game after game after game. You know, these last few weeks have been really tough. We've put the burden of this franchise on his shoulders for 15 years. We can't expect him to play 35 minutes. We got 5 games in 7 days on this road trip. So if you want to say that him playing 30 minutes instead of 32 is the difference in the win and the loss, I totally disagree with that. We're trying to win the game. We're trying to keep him fresh too.
Unpopular opinion. I love unpopular opinions. I was scouring Twitter, when he said this and the clip was going viral, and I follow a lot of Warriors fans, just a lot of people in LA, California, regardless. A lot of people had an issue with this. I actually don't like unpopular opinion. And I'll tell you why. Because the whole reason they went after Chris Paul was to do this very thing, to preserve Steph for when you need him the most, and that is the playoffs. Now, obviously, the Warriors are not in playoff contention. They're in play-in contention and hanging on by a thread. We'll dive into that in a second. But, I mean, in a perfect world, the Warriors will make it into the play-in. And that's really when you want Steph playing his most minutes at his most healthy. If you're unable to rely on everybody else on the floor, especially when you have a team of future Hall of Famers, that is a problem that you should not have to rely on Steph constantly to bring you out of that hole, bring you out of that deficit, fix that problem for you. So I personally agree with what Kerr's saying. If he's saying the difference of 30 and 32 minutes is what makes or breaks a game, we have bigger problems than whether or not I'm playing Steph Curry more minutes. And I absolutely agree with that. 100%.
Yeah. I'll back up what Ash said, John, and I'm not sure where you come down. For me, it's a balancing act, and it's a needle that has to be thread. Steph has to be right for the playoffs for the Warriors to have whatever minuscule chance they have now, but you have to win enough games that Houston doesn't catch you. So Kerr's he's got to get it right, and I'm not sure it's easy, John.
I mean, all right, look, in a vacuum, he's right. The difference between 30 and 32 minutes, not that big a deal. Right now, as they're trying to secure a play-in spot and they got the Rockets breathing down their neck, he was +6 when they were +6 when he was on the court yesterday, and they were -10 when he was off. He played 35 minutes versus the Pacers the other night. And now all of a sudden it's like, we got to rest him because whatever. Here's my thing. Yeah, he's right that they've been riding Steph Curry for his entire career, and that's the reason why the Warriors franchise fortunes have been buoyed. But like, what? All of a sudden on March 24th on a Sunday, you're like, that's enough? No, I can't ride Steph Curry anymore.
I think it tells you that they're not worried about the I mean, the other thing is, I don't think they're worried about the Rockets. You weren't worried about the Rockets on Friday. Producer Aaron, who is a Warriors fan,
it's Monday though.
He's not, and the Warriors have an easier schedule down the stretch, but they've got the Heat coming up. They've got the Magic coming up. I think they've got an easy game next Friday, that Charlotte or somebody, but they've got Denver coming to town the week after that. So there are some games that Golden State can still lose. So I think part of this is Steve Kerr and everyone else not worrying about the Rockets when maybe you should a little bit.
Maybe they should.
Like, I mean, it does sound like it's a combination of both of what you guys are saying, because if they're not worried about the Rockets the way that maybe some people think that they should be, then to John's point, because it is weird that like out of the blue, all of a sudden you adapt this new philosophy when that's really not how you've been playing Steph Curry for the majority of the season and his entire tenure as a Golden State Warrior while you've been his head coach. So in that regard, I agree with John. It's like, you just woke up and decided that, that's how you're going to do things. But to your point, Bill, it could be because, look, they're not really concerned about the Rockets. So therefore, this is where we're going to flip the switch on how we're going to utilize Steph Curry because he's more valuable to us then than he is right now, because the guys that we do have on the floor in those certain situations should be able to win games and hold off a team that we're already not worried about. So I can understand it. But to John's point, it is kind of weird that you just decided to flip that switch just randomly.
I think they're garbage without Steph. I mean, they're sort of garbage even.
They're kind of garbage anyway right now.
Yeah, they're garbage.
I was going to say, like, post All-Star break, Bill, 12th in defensive rating, 15th in offensive rating. They're a middle of the pack team. And producer Aaron, who's a noted Warriors fan, very despondent that they kind of handed that game away yesterday when they don't have a cushion here. They have the sixth easiest remaining schedule the rest of the way. Okay, we're under 10 games now. What are we doing? What are we talking about? Whether your schedule's easy or not, it's go time right now.
They can lose. They can lose to the Heat. The Magic. They can lose to the Magic the way they're playing now. They probably will lose to Denver in a week and a half. Actually, it's 2 weeks from tomorrow or a week from tomorrow. I'm so bad at dates. Whatever. I mean, there's a momentum thing that's going on, right? If all of a sudden the Rockets are up a game or up half a game and there's 6 left, who cares what the strength of schedule is? All of a sudden I think you start to see panic time, John, a little bit from Kerr. I think part of that reaction too is him understanding I messed up and this is significant. Let's play it. Let's downplay it.
We've had this conversation several times on the podcast. John and I actually had it on Spotlight last week, and everybody said it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Are you guys now on my side that it could happen? Like
I was don't let me into that group. I got
Bill.
Bill was more bullish in Bill's defense than I was on Friday. But then here's what happened. 2 days went by. And I came here on Monday and I'm like, wait a minute, this could actually go down. According to the various statistical models, it's still pretty unlikely. They have somewhere between, the Rockets do, somewhere between like a 15 to 20% chance to actually pull this off. But they've won 8 in a row, 9 of their last 10. 6 of those, by the way, after Alperen Şengün went down. And after Şengün went down, I was like, well, that's it for this team. And I think it's really impressive what Ime Udoka is building in Houston right now. Post All-Star break.
Yes.
9th in defensive rating, which is a classic Ime kind of team, right? Play through your defense. 13th in offensive rating, which is very surprising to me. But I guess it shouldn't be because Jalen Green is playing out of his head. Ashley and I buried Jalen Green on a CBS Sports property prior to the launch of the show. And then since then, he's been lights out. This is what I want to run past you guys.
He has he has stuff to work for. You know what I mean?
He does. I mean, this is what I want to run past you guys. Clearly, the Rockets are on the rise. They're going to be a team to look for next year. Bill and I were talking about how deep the West is and how basically absent the Portland Trailblazers, you could make a case for every single team being relevant next season in the Western Conference. But this is for right now. Who do you want to be in the 10 spot? I think it would be more interesting if it was the Rockets.
Oh, get John. That's crazy talk.
I'm serious.
No.
I think it'd be such
a Rockets Lakers play-in would not be as exciting as a Warriors Lakers play-in. The battle of Steph and LeBron. You don't know how many more of those that you have.
Come on, that's ridiculous.
That's not
true. You get on me for my thing sometimes. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard you say.
I haven't made the case yet. Let me make the case. Yes, you make a great point, Ashley, that Steph versus LeBron is always a classic, and you know we don't know how many of those we have left. That's a very good point. It's probably the best point. It might, however, be the only point because absent that, right? Who's the more compelling team right now? You've got this young team on the rise that's playing really good team basketball, and outside of Steph Curry, the Warriors do not look good right now. Who's the second best player on the Warriors right now? Is it Clay? I guess it's been Clay recently. Maybe Draymond. Like
nobody
the team looks
cares
awful.
about the Rockets outside of Houston and maybe this
nobody
podcast.
Cares. Though.
Everybody cares about the Warriors. Come on,
nobody cares.
No, dude, I'm not even gonna be nice here. That's ridiculous.
I
That's
do
an absurd take.
Now, if the Warriors
were
a good team,
are you okay?
If it were a different
Yeah,
team, if it were a
the
different team that they were
Warriors.
possibly taking that 10th spot from, like, let's say it was, let me go ahead and look. Like, let's say it was
Unbelievable.
let's say it was a Phoenix or it was I don't know, Utah or a Memphis, then we'd be having a different conversation. Then it's like, maybe the Rocket, but like Warriors, Lakers, like even though LeBron and Steph may be the only point, and I agree with you at this point, it kind of is the only silver lining in the situation. That's enough. It's enough. That's enough. Like,
you broke my brain, bro.
Me up.
You did bring up
my brain.
I do want to say something real quick.
See, they want the Rockets.
No, wait. This is I want to give you my absolute like dream NBA nerd scenario. It would be the number 1 seed Oklahoma City Thunder against the 8th seed and ascendant want to be the Oklahoma City Thunder Houston Rockets. Now that would be fun basketball for me.
Adam Silver's head will explode if he listens.
Can we just talk about real quick? You brought up Ime Udoka.
Yeah,
Can
please.
we just say in hindsight, Bob Myers looks like a psychic because he clearly knew something that the rest of us didn't, because when that move happened, we were all taken aback. Like in the basketball, we're like, what the hell? He built this team. He's just going to abandon ship. Like the captain's supposed to go down with their ship. He saw this thing had multiple holes in it. And he was like, this is not the Titanic. I ain't going down with you guys. Sorry. Hey, Bill.
That's just me.
Took a ISO for those of you watching on YouTube. You got a ISO on Bill there. This is a great
outrage
point
on the Rockets take.
This is an excellent point about Bob Myers abandoning ship, because he looks like a genius, right? Bill and I were talking about this a little bit on Friday. First of all, he's been surprisingly good as an analyst on ESPN and a color guy.
Good.
Outstanding.
Well, I mean, I like Bob Myers a lot. I think he's extremely smart. He built a dynasty. I just didn't know that it would translate to TV, but getting out in time
broadcasting. Sorry to jump in. He did broadcasting before he became a GM here in LA. He did, was it Bruins games? I just found this out. He like to get himself through college at AM 570 here in LA. So that's
what can't he do?
Nothing.
Including save himself from this pending disaster of, the Warriors.
Point, John, it's interesting because somebody who had such a hands-on presence in building this team essentially abandons it when you realize, or when you think, the general public thinks the window is still very much open. And then as the season progresses, you start looking at him and saying, okay, I get it. I get what you're saying. Like he saw the ship kind of going down. And although I feel like there's been moments of glimmer of light, like, oh my God, like the window may still very much be open. The situation the Warriors are in right now, the situation that there has been throughout the season, whether it's Kuminga and Steve Kerr going at it, whether directly, indirectly, like there's just been so many instances where it's like, okay, like he knew something we didn't. And now he looks a little bit more genius than we gave him credit for. I'm perplexed.
So John, I reported this last fall and it kind of, went into the ether, but I'll bring it up again. People close to Myers told me when he stepped away that the job that he wanted, didn't know if it would be open. It's obviously not going to be open, and I'm not saying this to mess with you. I swear to you, the job that he wanted was the Sixers job. And because I remember talking to people close to him who thought if he went, they might be able to go with him, who thought there was a world. And I remember saying, I don't think Morey's on his way out. And, GMs aren't supposed to sort of take
this
other
was
people's
with
jobs.
Morey already installed there.
Yeah. So maybe even 2 years ago, I wish I could remember the exact dates, but there was definitely a world where before Bob Myers left, and there was speculation that might leave during that negotiation with ownership, right? Where it's sort of, will he stay? Won't he stay? What does he want? He found in a vacuum, the Sixers job to be really intriguing. So someday, if Morey goes away, I think that's a realistic possibility.
Yeah, I'm fine with Daryl Morey. I think he's been a really, since he was hired to run the Rockets, he's been one of the best GMs in basketball. He hasn't won it all, but he's been one of the smartest guys in basketball for a very long time. I'm fine with him. Bob Myers, look, he's had an incredible career. I think he saw the writing on the wall. And also there was that contract dispute with Golden State where they were sort of drawing it out and people were like, hey, are you going to pay Bob or what? And they just didn't get around to it in time and he decided to hit the bricks, but it looks like he did it just in time.